Real YouTube it. Real YouTubists are so good at intros. Everyone who watches their intros knows to subscribe. Please subscribe, please subscribe. Hello. Why do I always say hello? Why can't it just be hello? I don't know why it can't just be hello. Can you just accept it? Okay, it's not just hello. Anyway, how's everyone doing? Today we're going to be talking about something that I personally think is really interesting, which is the Pokemon that were like very, very good before Crown Tundra, and now I don't recommend using or have fallen off a lot. I think this is interesting because if you followed VGC for the majority of 2020, there was a bunch of different rule sets, and although some Pokemon were consistently good, since there were always new Pokemon being added in, the meta changed a bit. However, there was kind of this like consistent level of Pokemon that was like, okay, this Pokemon's always going to be good, right? And now the rules have changed, and so many new Pokemon are in that many of the Pokemon that were extremely dominant and extremely like best in the format before have now taken a big hit and are significantly worse. So what I'm looking at here on the left side of your screen is this is the data on the end of on Series 5 Battle Stadium. So this is Series 5 in-game ranked doubles effectively. And we can take a look at the usage here, and I just want to talk about the Pokemon that, if we were to look at Series 7, this isn't like perfect, but you can see there's a lot of new Pokemon: Landorus, Fini, Metagross, Aleki. Actually, all of them are new Pokemon. So yeah, we can talk a little bit about how, yeah, some of the Pokemon that have fallen off and some of the ones that are still good. So we can just go down the list, I guess, and talk about them. Cinderrace, number 1 in usage in Series 5, still a good Pokemon. Landorus was introduced, however, Cinderrace actually has outperformed Landorus in previous formats where they've both been legal. So yeah, Cinderrace is still a very good Pokemon, not something we necessarily have to touch on. I don't want to talk about the Pokemon that are like really good now. I'll just talk about the ones that have fallen off. The biggest example to me is Togekiss. So Togekiss was a Pokemon that was on over 40% of all teams in Series 5, and now, you know, if we were to look here, oh, I can't see the actual percentage, but it's number 15, which isn't terrible, but going from 1 to 15, or like 2 to 15 is a pretty big drop, and Togekiss, for many formats, is the number 1 Pokemon on, like, through the whole format. So why is it that Togekiss has fallen off? It has a lot to do with the introduction of some of the new Pokemon. So if we were to look at some of those new Pokemon, you can see that Landorus Therian, it's not like it has a good matchup against it, but you can still yawn it. Like, it's not horrible. Timid Togekiss outspeeds Adamant Landorus, so you have some stuff you can do. But then we start to get into more problematic Pokemon. So Regieleki is, in my opinion, the biggest reason Togekiss has fallen off. Even support Regieleki will 2-hit KO Togekiss with Volt Switch, let alone offensive Regieleki, probably Okoing with Thunderbolt. And Togekiss can't really do that much in return except for Dazzling Gleam. Yawn doesn't really stick versus Regieleki because, yeah, it can just Volt Switch out, and yeah. So Regieleki is big. Also, it's worth noting Tapu Fini is pretty good against Togekiss because, like, Togekiss can't really damage it. Its best option is to yawn against bulky support Pokemon like Dusclops in the past. However, obviously, you can't really yawn Tapu Fini because of the Misty Terrain. So, not only does Misty Terrain protect Tapu Fini from Togekiss, it also protects the whole team, provided they're touching the ground. So, yeah, Fini definitely invalidating Togekiss's support options. Metagross, you can see here, is really big right now. Yeah, like, number 4 in usage, and, like, it has like most Metagross will run both Steel and Ice type coverage. They'll all be running at least one of those two. So even if you run Babiri Berry, there's no guarantee you survive Max Hailstorm from Metagross. So yeah, overall good Pokemon. It can't really do anything to Cresselia. I can yawn Cresselia. And like, as you can see, there's still some Pokemon it has good matchups against. Like, I guess Cresselia isn't terrible depending on their moveset. Urshifu is a positive matchup against. It's also worth noting Glastrier is like really high in usage right now, and so this Pokemon just, I mean, anything that Oko's Togekiss is going to give it a hard time, right? Moltres is actually, it has a positive matchup against. So, like, I'm not saying Togekiss is inherently awful, but almost every team has Regieleki. So every team should have, like, or like, I would guess like 67% of teams will have either Regieleki or Metagross or both. And Landorus is still not a good matchup, especially if they Dynamax Neat with Max Rockfall. So yeah, Togekiss is really fallen off. I personally think Rillaboom's still good. We're not going to talk about it too much. T-Jar isn't inherently awful, but it's in a really awkward spot now, which is interesting because it's not necessarily like the typing of the new Pokemon is like that much worse for T-Jar than it had to deal with before. Like, yeah, there's Metagross, but like Excadrill was bigger before, so that's not like that big of a deal. You actually have a better matchup against Metagross than Excadrill, you could argue, because of typing. But the real thing I think about Tyranitar is the speed. So Tyranitar is a Pokemon where, like, it's in a really awkward speed stat, which is, like, fine given you have the right support for it. So in the past, people were either running, like, fast train Tyranitar, which is, like, it wasn't crazy fast or anything. It's, like, you know, it doesn't hit, its max speed stat is 124, but the metagame was actually pretty slow before. Like, it was one of the first times in my memory that base 100 was considered, like, not the baseline, but instead just, like, relatively like was above the baseline speed. Like we had Pokemon like Arcanine and Porygon Z, and those were kind of like on the faster end of the format, and a lot of stuff was clustered around Togenkiss's speed tier of, you know, max speed 145. So Tyranitar, despite being a slower Pokemon, if you trained it quickly, could outspeed a fair few things in the format, especially bulkier Pokemon like Togekiss and Rotom that weren't invested in speed. Or you could use it with Trick Room and run like Bulldoze, weakness policy stuff. Tyranitar is in an awkward spot now. We can see where its usage is. I expect it to have fallen a lot. Oops, that's not right. Tyranitar is, you can see it's pretty far down. It's number 21 now. And I think the reason for that is, like I mentioned, the speed. Like, yes, all these Pokemon above have, like, relatively positive matchups. I think Feeny actually has a negative matchup if you're weakness policy, but Landy has a good matchup, Metagross has a good matchup, Urshifu, Glastrier, these are all Pokemon with positive matchups. Rillaboom. And again, Tyranitar still has good matchups here. Dragapult, Incineroar, and Moltres are all very positive. Incident is kind of questionable depending on set, but yeah. Cresselia obviously is a super positive matchup. But the real thing is that, like, the metagame has become a lot faster. And you might think, oh, that doesn't, you know, who cares? It's like, it's faster, right? But for a Pokemon like Tyranitar, it really matters a lot because now you can't run this kind of quicker outside of Trick Room set as effectively. And additionally, the Pokemon in Trick Room, there's like better Trick Room sweepers. So like whereas before you might have had to deal with like Rhyperior and like, I don't know, like Torkoal, like we're kind of like the primary, I would say like, I'm sure I'm forgetting some, but Torkoal, Rhyperior, those are like the major Trick Room sweepers, Tyranitar as well. We can actually, we can just check, guys. I can just look and see if there's other Trick Room sweepers, like Primarina kind of, with Rillaboom's spiking, it didn't have that much. Yeah, so you can see there weren't really big Trick Room sweepers, but now if you look at it, you've got like Metagross, which is pretty common in Trick Room, and I actually think the Glastrier is kind of the big deal here because it has fighting type coverage. So you have a fighting type Pokemon, or a fighting type coverage that underspeeds Tyranitar, and Amoonguss is picking up in usage as well. Although actually it's, wait, Amoonguss is 20, I feel like Amoonguss should be way higher up. I can't wait, Amoonguss is below Togekiss? That's honestly insane to me. I feel like Amoonguss is such a better, like in such a better spot right now than Togekiss. So, yeah. Cinderace obviously was a really strong offensive threat, having an ability that allows it to change type and attack. This is one of the Pokemon that suffers the most, in my opinion, from Regieleki because they can just Electro Web before you can change your typing and gain speed control. Again, Cinderace was a lot. Cinderachi was a lot stronger. In a format that was relatively slow with limited speed control. Now, you know, not only is there Regieleki, right? Not only are there more Tailwind users, not only is there more Trick Room, there's also the fact that there's so many flying types. So you can't get Cinderachi, like, a lot of the time it's going to feel like you're forced to max Airstream just to, like, maintain speed control over Pokemon like, you know, like Landorus, like Moltres, right? Like Thundurus Incarnate. So, yeah, Cinderachi really relied on its type coverage and its like natural speed advantage to allow it to attack things first. Like, if you're attacking first with Cinderachi, it's a pretty good Pokemon because you can change your type based on what you anticipate them using. However, if you're attacking second, which is like very much likely given a format with Regieleki, you're really going to have a hard time. So, yeah, so that's why Cinderachi's fallen off a bit. Torkoal, it's kind of too soon to tell with Torkoal. There's less Tyranitar, which should, in theory, make Torkoal stronger, but there's also Tapu Fini, which is, like, very bad for Torkoal, so kind of too soon to tell. I wouldn't write Torkoal off. I think Venusaur feels a lot weaker. I still see people using it, but it's nothing like... It doesn't feel nearly as strong as it was before. I guess offensive sets are slightly stronger now, but, like, it kind of feels like you need to run Sleep Powder to deal with all the flying types, so, yeah, I'm not crazy about Venusaur right now. But it is surprising but the Urshifu actually have, like, maybe even increased in usage rather than dropped. You can see Urshifu is number 6 on this list, which for me is really surprising, and I can't, honestly, like, I don't really understand it. I think it's just, like, Dark is really good offensive typing right now. Hits, as you can see, like, Crit Dark hits Landorus, Regieleki, Metagross, and Cresselia all for good damage, fighting for Glastrier, Dragapult, Instant. Like, it hits almost all, like, let's count how many things it hits for neutral or super effective. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right, 9. All these Pokemon hits for either neutral or super effective, and I say neutral here because if you can hit them for like neutral with max crit move, that's pretty good because why is that good? Oh, because you can crit through Intimidate and Reflect and stuff. So it actually is like a pretty, like with Urshifu hitting for neutrals, like pretty valuable, neutral with Dark specifically. So yeah. Yeah, so that's another Pokemon that's kind of like doing better than I expected. I never really got Urshifu. Like, it's not a Pokemon that really makes too much sense to me a lot of the time. I haven't really tried using it extensively, to be fair. And mostly the times I've used it have been on pretty bad like teams. So, yeah, but yeah, overall, I think that's pretty much it. I don't want to get too far down past these Pokemon because it's kind of too soon to tell. And even Pokemon like Togekiss, which like I said, I'm kind of writing off. like, even Pokemon like Togekiss are still number 15 in usage, which is higher, in my opinion, than it should be. So, Togekiss, Tyranitar, Cinderachi, kind of Torkoal, and then Venusaur are all Pokemon that have suffered a lot here. We're going to have to wait and see if they make a comeback, but I'm curious. But, yeah, I think that's all I have to say about this. Let me know what you think about the format. Let me know if this makes sense to you, if you think this kind of content is interesting. Because I could also talk about Pokemon that are, like, really, that were strong before and are still strong now, like Rillaboom. Oh, I didn't even really talk about Dragapult. Dragapult's in a weird spot really quickly. That is something I want to talk about. It's not that it's bad now, but it's kind of like people haven't figured out exactly how good it is. It went from, like, yeah, like 23% usage to, I mean, I think it's actually still surprisingly high, but it might just be like people don't know the replacement for it yet. So, yeah, Dragapult's still like top 10, which is very good, but I personally expect it to fall a fair bit. So, but yeah, let me know what you think about this kind of content. Please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you tomorrow for the next video. Goodbye.